Welcome to the Fast Mode Studios. I'm Ariana Lin, Principal Analyst at the Fast Mode, and with us today we have Prashant Kumar, Chief Innovation Officer at Elisa Polystar. Elisa Polystar will be exhibiting at booth number 218 at TM Forum's highly anticipated DTW23 Ignite, set to take place at the Bella Center, Copenhagen from the 19th to the 21st of September. The company will not only be showcasing its suite of advanced transport, RAN, network automation and network assurance solutions, but also plans on participating in a number of exciting panel discussions and keynote speeches. Good morning, Prashant.
Hi, I'm Prashant Kumar. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer of Elisa Polystar. Elisa Polystar is a telecom software company which specializes in self-driving network software and end-to-end products. I was previously, before getting acquired by Elisa Polystar, I was a co-founder of Cardinality, and before that I have worked for many years in various telcos like Telefonica, Deutsche Telekom, and 3F, etc. So great to be here, and I look forward to the session.
Okay, so we note that you will be speaking at a Loft session at DTW23 on the topic of embracing data mesh, a case study of how one of Europe's largest operator groups transformed into a cloud-native data ops and analytics architecture. Can you tell us more about this session?
Yeah, of course. So we have been working with some of the big operators across Europe for a while, and one of the big projects which we have delivered in the last couple of years has been a massive hybrid data mesh platform, basically, which runs partially on-prem, partially in cloud, and delivers to multiple personas, and has been one of the key drivers in achieving digital transformation within that organization. So the overall session at Copenhagen I will be double clicking on this really, and then trying to share some insights in terms of the goods and the bads, and in terms of how what went right, what went wrong, some of the learnings, some design patterns, and we are also seeing this kind of requests coming from a lot of other customers at the moment. So I think it's probably incites some more questions, and also hopefully ignite some more discussions during the session and post-session.
Interesting. So Elisa Polystar has long been a driving force behind the shift towards fully autonomous, or in other words, self-driving networks. When we say self-driving, what does that mean to you? How has Elisa Polystar's journey towards achieving self-driving networks been so far, and what are your plans for the future?
Well, so it's worth taking a step back to kind of double-click a bit on the name Elisa itself. So Elisa Finland is one of the biggest operators within the country, and they have been pioneering in creating some very cool network-wide automations, and they've been kind of operating a dark NOC for more than a decade. Me coming from telco background, I've worked with a lot of operators. When I actually had the chance to actually see what they're achieving, what they have already achieved, it was quite fascinating to see what they have already done at scale. So really, we have been kind of we have inherited that strategy. We have inherited the whole self-driving paradigm from our mothership, and Elisa Polystar kind of tries to execute on that. So when you look at our portfolio of the products and the organizations we have been acquiring, and hopefully organically and inorganically as we grow in the future, you will see self-driving network as one of the key strategic pitch, as I would say, a satellite strategic view of the world, basically, where we have been driving. And that really includes multifaceted things around looking at from the core, from the data platform, that how do you manage the data and everything, and then going northbound, looking at service assurance, customer experience. And one of the key things what we have been looking at is customer experience driven automation, because there's a lot of folks out there who are automating a lot of things, but there is actually an inherent cost to that, and that inherent cost is really customer experience. So some of the things what we have been looking at is in depth is that how do we combine all of these things together and then give that value to the customer. And the last and the most important thing I would say here is, as every CSP is moving towards 5G, and as we know, the workloads in 5G and the actual business case of 5G probably are not humans. It might be IoT, it might be a lot of machines. And as we start bringing in network slicing, as we start bringing in a lot of these open RAN kind of narratives within CSPs, we absolutely believe that the current way of operations absolutely won't scale. And in order to actually achieve a scalable, profitable, good customer experience network, you have to go down the route of automation. And self-driving for us is that how much can you push it, basically, and that's where we are trying to be pioneering in this space.
A large milestone in Elisa Polystar's journey, as you mentioned, was the acquisition of Cardinality in August last year. How has this enriched your automation solutions portfolio? Basically, how do cloud-native data ops and analytics support self-driving networks?
So I must admit, I will have a very biased view on this because I was one of the co-founders of Cardinality. But I'll try to be as objective as possible. So look, there are a few things I will add here. While building Cardinality, we looked at the world from that, how do we deliver over the top? How do we go and solve lots of data problems? And one of the key things I always share widely, even in the past and today, is data ops and data platforms are usually the most unsexiest problem to solve in the network because they directly do not correlate to some business outcome. May not be, most of the time not. So a lot of time what happens is the projects on the data side becomes too myopic and very driven by the end use case outcome, and which is great because at least that kind of delivers the confidence in the senior management and the CSP that yes, data can solve a lot of problems. But the challenge is a lot of these architectures being myopic, being very driven for a particular use case ends up delivering a lot of silos. And if we also look towards the machine learning side, basically, we all know that 70 to 80% of the machine learning code or a problem is data engineering. It's not actually the ML code itself. And there are multiple literatures out there about this, experiences out there, people talking about this. Now, this gets actually exponentially more complicated within CSPs because you're looking at literally billions of events. So it's not like a retail data where you're collecting like a few files or some stream from, I don't know, like a million POS terminals every hour or half an hour or something. This is like really stream data coming from the network. And in Cardinality and as part of Elisa Polystar, most of our deployments run at 10 billion, 20 billion, 50 billion events per day. So we understand that scale side of things. So I'll connect this back to your question. So we have carried on that work within Elisa Polystar. Now, the coolest thing, and this is one of the reasons why we joined forces, is the northbound is especially very, very interesting and important. So Elisa Polystar already had a plethora of use cases like automation engine, like virtual NOC, like service assurance. Bringing all these things together with the help of Cardinality, now what we could do is, A, we can go faster, B, we can really truly achieve a over-the-top experience for the customer from a use case perspective, and C, we're focusing on a very, very scale journey. And rather than saying, hey, in order to do something, you have to change your probes today. You know, that story doesn't work anymore, especially when we are going to a cloud native world kind of thing. So these multiple things have come together, and one or two other key things I will add from Cardinality perspective. We doubled down on a cloud native. It was a hard journey to go through, but that's paid off from a scalability perspective, especially as the CSPs are adopting more and more hyperscalers and going more hybrid architectures. So that has also extended itself within the new world of Elisa Polystar. There's a lot of products we already have which are cloud native, which play quite well with Cardinality, and the ones which we are not, we are in process of transforming them. So it's a great amalgamation of multiple cool, good projects. I will say cool products. Maybe I should use a more diplomatic word, like great products, basically. Because, but yeah, I mean, it's been quite a. We are right now a unique organization in the industry, which has everything from end to end.
Brilliant. That sounds very exciting and, like you said, very cool. Moving on to recent trends, artificial intelligence has surged in popularity in the last year, with end-user applications such as ChatGPT having gained a lot of traction. In the context of telecom networks, how does artificial intelligence and machine learning deliver enhanced network outcomes, such as improved subscriber experiences and lower costs?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. And so first things first, machine learning has been used and in some form and shape for a while now. I mean, we have been using some forms of neural networks and stuff, predicting customer happiness index and stuff. So yes, I think as the industry is saying that AI/ML's iPhone moment has arrived with ChatGPT. So a lot of folks who never cared about machine learning and AI has now started. It's become more usable. Let's put it that way for the end users. Now, very specifically, LLMs are LLMs. ChatGPT provides a lot of insights, lots of great interfaces. I think the chat bots, and there's a lot of things what can happen in there. I'll share what we have been playing with. So we have been dabbling with ChatGPT especially for a while now. And we have also been exploring the possibility of training LLM models. Of course, these things are not that straightforward as it comes across, especially ChatGPT. When you look at it, it costs hundreds of millions of dollars to train a single LLM. So, but putting back into this context of the question, we have seen some amazing outcomes. So, for example, we have already been dabbling where we have connected OpenAI with a customer experience database. And we can see immediately, like within few weeks, we were able to create a prototype which can actually revolutionize the customer experience journey, which can revolutionize the customer services teams, like change the world how they operate. And some of the really simple things, like very, very simple thing, for example, we've been playing it. How do you create a dashboard just by writing a natural language sentence that, hey, create a dashboard for me, which should have X, Y, Z. And some of these things we have seen like absolutely works at an exponentially disruptive level. Now, this is great, but one of the things I would share with the community, and I mean, we are already sharing this with several customers of ours, is I think people are very focused on LLMs. Our learning on LLMs is LLMs are great. The big chunk of the work which needs to be done connecting these independent neural networks is on the prompt engineering and on the data privacy side. You do not want to open your customer data to a neural network which learns itself, because you have no idea how and where it can be used. And this is where most of our R&D effort is going in. So just to summarize this, there are three big things where we are looking at. One is LLM itself per se, open LLMs and the proprietary LLMs like ChatGPT, Bard, etc. And internal LLMs, how can we evolve that, and how can we feed with a lot of contextual learning data, because that's another challenge we have to look at. Number two is the prompt engineering. How do you create a prompt which basically directs the end users to the right kind of questioning? Because the moment you change an adjective or a noun and a verb in a sentence for a for an LLM, that changes the context. So how do we create the prompt engineering well enough that it drives the outcome the fastest for the end users? And the third one I would say, and the most important, is data privacy. What is the new realms of data privacy in all of these things? How do you manage and maintain this without jeopardizing anything? Both from not from just regulatory perspective, but from the perspective of your actual customers. How do you look after their data, basically? So that's, I would summarize where things are moving, and I think it's a net positive thing in the industry, and I am very, very excited about this thing, and I think this is gonna boot up a new journey altogether. I mean, it's going to take some time. We very, very early stage. But you can see the green shoots already.
Okay, so I believe you touched upon this earlier in question 2. Your solutions are developed and deployed on the live network of Finland's largest communications service provider, Elisa. How does this support the creation of highly adaptive and effective solutions that directly address the real-world challenges faced by operators in the industry?
Well, so I think this is a very positive and interesting thing when you look at one point in time. A decade ago, like 15 years ago, more or less every operator, or when you look at likes of, there used to be organizations like Telcordia and AT&T and all these guys, AT&T, Bell Labs, they all used to develop this software themselves. And there was if you go back in the history of computer science, Unix and all these things have been, C++ have been developed literally at AT&T. So telcos used to be the forefront of what likes of hyperscalers are today in the market of computing. Like they are really kind of building the next 10 years, 20 years of the world. So taking your question back to the context of this is, so we as Elisa Polystar has an amazing opportunity to work with one of the most innovative operators. And so that gives us a lot of positive reinforcement in our product development process, because we can pick up the phone and speak to the colleagues on the other side of the fence, and because they kind of they are a good representation of what the other customers will be looking at. A few other things is Elisa Finland itself being at the forefront of automation. There's a lot of exchanges we have with them where we can learn from each other. Especially from a perspective that innovation, in my perspective, it comes out from different places, and then you fuse it together, and then you bring things and you package it, and somehow it will end up in a disruptive outcome. Now, when you look at from that perspective, Elisa Finland has been doing some very, very interesting R&D, and they have a very scaled R&D internally which runs, and we get to exchange ideas and work with them and deploy our product and learn from it in one of the biggest labs, I would say, basically. Now, maybe it's not publicly calling a network a lab is not a great idea, but you know what I mean, that it's a contextual thing where we can really go and say, hey, is this product going to work? Or do we think this idea is going to work? Not just from a technical level. The big chunk of the work also happens at the business level, at the service integration level, at the support level, because we can build an amazing product, but if it doesn't fit in the operational realms and the setup of CSPs, it'll be very hard for us to get an uptake of that in the market. So all in all of these things gets combined together to work with them. And the last thing I will mention here is in terms of 5G, looking at containerized workloads, looking at how different NEPs are developing things and how it's been kind of deployed and architected, we get to learn a lot. But I want to be very clear here. There is a big Chinese wall between the two organizations, because we work with a lot of folks who may directly, indirectly compete with our mothership, and we make sure that all the legal boundaries and the legal setups are properly managed and controlled from both the sides of the fence, basically.
Excellent. So that wraps up our session for today. Thank you, Prashant, for sharing your insights on network automation and how it will shape the networks of tomorrow. To everyone watching, you can meet the team behind Elisa Polystar at booth 218 at DTW23 or learn more at www.elisapolystar.com. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the Fast Mode. See you again in our next session.
Cool. Thank you, Ariana, and great to connect with you.